As promised, here I am. I am coming to you live via Facebook and LinkedIn. And if you give me a moment, I'm going to turn on my Instagram feed as well, so that those on Instagram can enjoy this short live session I have planned for today as well. Um, Give me a moment, I'm just going to go live on Instagram. Wait for people to arrive anyway. Hello, hello. Hey, everybody. Uh, Welcome to this week's Live with Lance. I'm not sure how long today's session is going to be, but I promised I'd be here today as I'm not able to make it on Sunday. So here we are, making this live for this week. And I wanted to take a few minutes to actually talk about um, some situation in my life. Um, a situation in my life right now where, well, let's be honest. I'm I've been doing a lot of reflection lately, and I've been thinking about a lot of different things and reflecting on my previous experience. And I wanted to share something with you because I have come to realize that there's a real I've had a huge challenge in my adult life, and that challenge has to do with I often blame myself for things that have gone wrong in my life. Whether we're talking about my romantic relationships or we're talking about, you know, difficulties with my my employment and my job, I often, you know, am my harshest critic, and I really spend a lot of time, uh, you know, basically really getting down on myself and blaming myself for a lot of the problems and the challenges and putting the pressure on myself, quite honestly, to fix the problem and to change things. And that's a lot of pressure. I remember when I was in my first marriage, I would often spend time just, willing myself to make things work and to do things to make things better. And I would put so much pressure on myself, and eventually I was burnt out. I just couldn't manage anymore, and I wasn't able to really contribute much of anything to that relationship. And unfortunately, it took me a long time to learn from that. And I actually went through two failed romantic relationships before I really understood this idea that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. And the idea that I want to talk about is self compassion. Last week I talked about self acceptance and the idea of accepting everything about oneself without any kind of judgment or preconceived notion. But this week I want to talk about self compassion and how it is so important for all of us to really uh, be able to weather the storm because challenges and setbacks, they're inevitable. and, and we cannot possibly control everything in life. You know, we're not going to make every person in the world happy, and we're not going to necessarily be able to, you know, have, sunshine and rainbows every single day of our lives. So, because of that, it's really important that we understand this idea of self compassion. So, I wanted to take a couple minutes and talk to you about it. And be very honest with you, this is something that I still struggle with. And it's because of my personality. It's because of the way I have decided to basically be the conductor of my own life. And because that, I put a lot of pressure on myself, a ton of pressure. So much pressure, in fact, that, it has become such a challenge for me. However, you know, here we are. So, what is self compassion? Most of us probably know what it is just by hearing the phrase self compassion, but let's review it nonetheless. Okay? So let's see. Self compassion is a practice of treating oneself with kindness, care, understanding in the face of challenges, setbacks, and failures. Treating oneself with kindness, care, and understanding. It involves acknowledging that suffering is a normal part of the human experience and responding to that with a sense of empathy and self awareness. So, this topic of self compassion really ties into what I was talking about last week with self acceptance. But ultimately, there are three main components of self compassion. Okay? Self kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. What are we talking about here? Let's unpack that a little bit further. Self kindness involves treating oneself with warmth, understanding, and support, rather than being harsh, self critical, or judgmental. And common humanity essentially uh, refers to the idea that even though it feels like we're alone and isolated and the only person in the world that could possibly be suffering, the reality is that there are others in the world that we live in that are suffering and having similar experiences. It's a common thing for all of us to experience. It's a normal thing, and we need to learn how to develop strategies to cope with it on a much more positive, in a much more positive way. And finally, when we talk about mindfulness, which is that third component of self compassion, we're talking about thinking of our emotions or recognizing the emotions and not necessarily assigning any judgment to them. Okay? Not really, getting inside our heads. If we're having an emotion, yes, recognize the emotion, but don't assign any meaning to it. Don't assign anything to it. Just let it be. Okay? Again, so non-judgmental awareness of our emotions. That's what mindfulness really means. Okay? Look, I know all of this might seem to be more, psychobabble and ultimately there are those that are going to be looking at this going, that sounds well and good, Lance, But the reality is that, you know, life is just pretty freaking hard. And I don't know how to be compassionate because every time I'm faced with a challenge, I just get beat down and I just can't take it anymore. Well, I've been there. Trust me, I've been there. And I've also had a lot of difficulty, a lot of difficulty um, dealing with my setbacks. I'm incredibly hard on myself. So this compassion thing is hard for me, but it's something I'm working on. And I guess what I would really like to say about all of this is that I think that we have to, even when we're trying to be compassionate and we say that we want to do these things, we have to be real and, and we have to recognize that sometimes we're going to have bad days. And sometimes we're not going to react the way we want to. Part of being self compassionate is being okay with not being okay. Okay? Recognizing that it's a normal response when we're frustrated, when we're angry. It's okay to be angry. Now, where the problem lies is when we allow that anger and that frustration and all of those things to persist to a point where it prevents us from moving forward or making progress. And that's when we have to be mindful and put a stop to those things. Okay? And try to shift our focus, like I was talking about last week. All right? Yep. Nope. Yeah. I I guess that's you, uh, Mark. That's making some comments as I go along on Instagram. Thank you very much. I appreciate your being here today. You had mentioned something in your comments about put on YouTube. I'm actually currently streaming to YouTube as we speak, as well as to Facebook and to Instagram all at the same time, as well as LinkedIn, really. So I'm on Instagram on my phone, and through Restream, I'm actually streaming to 3 different platforms at once. So, yes, here we are. The wonders of technology. Um, Self compassion is one of those concepts that we really need to spend more time understanding and really trying to implement in our own life. Okay? So that we can really, truly allow ourselves to make progress. Remember, no matter what it is we're trying to achieve in our life, no matter what our experiences are, no matter how we're feeling, as long as we are making progress, that is a sign of success. Okay? And even when we're faced with a failure, a failed relationship, if we can look at that relationship, oops, if we can look at that relationship and see where we went wrong and learn from that experience, we're going to be better for it. So it wasn't a complete waste of time. It wasn't a complete um, a ridiculous thing that we should never have focused on. It's something a part of something that has enriched our lives, even though we don't really understand it at the time as we're going through it. It enriches our life. Ladies and gentlemen, I said that this would be a short live session today, and I wasn't kidding. Um, Mark, I want to thank you for being here. It looks like you were the only one uh, to watch this live today. But those of you who are watching this later on, I also appreciate all of your support. Please, ladies and gentlemen, um, for my next live, I'm really hoping that some people will make comments and ask me to cover something that they would like to hear about. Give me some topic ideas that you think would be beneficial or valid for you. I would really like to engage with those of you who watch this and really try to, give you something that you really would want some support with. So please share with me any ideas that you might have so that we can make this even more impactful for you. I really hope that I can be here and help you in your journey. Whether you have CP or whether you don't have CP, I really hope that I'm able to provide value with these live sessions. I will be going back to my regular time slot on Sunday next week, so there will be some time uh, for you to comment on this live and give me some ideas. Hey, Tammy McLeod on Instagram. How's it going? And also Naomi, I believe. It's great to see you guys. Thanks for joining. Um, and there's one person joining on either Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. I'm not sure who that is. I can't see, but thank you. Um, you're joining me towards the end of my life, but thank you nonetheless. You can definitely rewind this, Tammy and Naomi, and hear what I had to say about self compassion and how important it is when we're faced with setbacks to be compassionate with oneself. I am sharing it today because I have not always been very compassionate to myself. Tammy, you'll remember Lance on the bocce court. Um, Even today, you know, when I suffer a loss on the bocce court, I'm probably my worst enemy. The coaches cannot beat me up nearly as bad as I beat myself up. And so this is something that I definitely struggle with. But the reality is that everybody has losses. Everybody has setbacks. And I've been really trying to work on that aspect of myself to recognize those times when, I had those setbacks on the bocce court or in other parts of my life. And I really try to remind myself that it's okay. It's not the end of the world. I'm not going to die. It's just a game. What can I learn from that experience? And how can I transform my thoughts from I feel like garbage because I didn't give my best effort to what did I learn from that experience and how am I going to improve my game so that the next time I face XYZ, I can adjust and succeed. That is what it's all about. All right, folks, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Those of you on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, thanks for your patience, and we'll see you next week.